All systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, and we got a special edition starting it on a Friday this week, but wild card weekend. Gonna break it all down. Got Hoopster Title here with me, as always, talking the Saturday two-game slate. And Hoop, I'll bring you in first. I was about to say a pre-show, so we'll just talk about it on the show. I was like, what? Why is this the same thing again? And it's because the Christmas Day slate, the Saturday before, the Texans, the Steelers, the Ravens were three of those four teams twice in a row. And now we're running it back again. A few injuries here and there, but an interesting slate nonetheless. How you doing, my friend? What's going on?
It is crazy. Yeah, you sub out who was it? The Chiefs that were on that schedule with those teams, right? So you sub out the Chiefs, bring in the Chargers, and we got the same team. So we've kind of had this slate numerous times. We'll talk through it, two-game slate, but playoffs are here, man, and it's a lot of fun. Obviously, it's sad because this symbolizes that the NFL season is almost over, but a lot of slates to play with huge prize pools from here on out all the way through the Super Bowl. So looking forward to it. I mean, these two-game slates are fun. The three-game slates are fun. We got a two-gamer on Saturday, three-gamer on Sunday, and then the showdown slate on Monday night, the Rams-Vikings, where that game got moved to Arizona because of those obviously super unfortunate fires going on there. So a lot to do the next few days here. Looking forward to it, and we're going to dive in and kind of follow the same process that we typically follow on these shows.
Yeah, and just to note that, good point there on the slates that we're covering, because we've got this show. We'll be back Sunday morning, like always, to cover the three-gamer, and then we'll be back on Monday for the Monday Night Football, just like usual. So we still got all the content. I know people are, the football season's ending. We're more shows because the Thursday Night Football just moves to this one. We still have the Sunday, still got the mains. It's kind of the same shows, I guess, if you will. And then we got MMA back. I know Title and Marley just recorded one last night. Title, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Good, and you got me excited when you're talking the same slate pretty much as Christmas, because it was a good one over here. Could have been better. I know Hoop and I had the second nuts on FanDuel. John Mechie's catch at the end did hurt a bit. It was like 4,800. It wasn't something crazy, but it was better than whatever we got paid. So yeah, I mean the future Super Bowl champs also on the slate too. So I'm pretty excited.
I would love that. We're getting these bets are still rolling.
Give us. I will take the Ravens, Lions, and be happy with the result. So if I owe you 500 at the end of the Super Bowl, that would be the most exciting I'll ever be to send Title $500. Like I will take that in a heartbeat.
Well, I was going to ask you because we said who goes farther. Technically, that is as far as you can go.
Whoever wins the game, I'd say whoever wins the game. Yeah, because that is the furthest you can go to the Super Bowl. But I mean, I think the bet would be whoever wins that game, right?
Perfect.
Yeah, can't be a tie.
You can go one step further. You can go right to the trophy table and collect that, the top dog. So yeah, that would make sense. I like that call, and it keeps it fun and exciting between us. I know you were pointing over there, Title. You weren't pointing at Giannis on that one. So we'll see. There is some sleeper talk. What do you guys think, real quick? I know we're about to get into this one, but just curious on the Sunday slate of just one game I want to ask about. Who do you think wins between the Bucks and the Commanders? That's an interesting game, and it ends out the slate. So we'll have showdown coverage, all of that too. But just thinking about it, that's the hardest one for me to figure out. Who do you got, Title, in that one?
I got the underdog. I got Jaden Daniels, the rookie, using his legs.
Okay. Hoop, real quick on that one, then we'll talk about this two-gamer.
I think I'm following suit. I mean, I do think that Lattimore situation is kind of enough to push me over the edge where, I mean, he is in Mike Evans' head, and they need Mike Evans with their receiving core. So I'm going the underdog as well. Let's get some predictions, some Super Bowl predictions, like the game. I mean, it's obviously this is, the kickoff of the playoffs. So let's put our predictions in.
You want to go all the way, or you just want to go Super Bowl?
Just like who's going to be in the Super Bowl and who's going to win it.
Okay. Go ahead, Title. I'll let you go first.
Definitely Baltimore, and they're winning it all.
Wow.
Man, I said Packers. I can't say Packers actually going to do it. I do think the Rams are sneaky, but going to Detroit, I know they're underdogs against Minnesota. It hurt them moving. The NFC is so tough for me. I don't think it's Philly. I really don't. I think it'll be either Lions or the winner of Minnesota and the Rams. The Lions are the easy pick, so I don't want to go that way. I'll go the Rams, really sneaky.
Wow. I like the first call is the best one. Give me those Ravens, please.
The Ravens, I feel good
no Homer, but yes, Homer. I'm definitely excited if that happens. I'm already scared about this game, and I know it's just we're going to get to it against the Steelers, but I get worried pretty easily about these playoffs. They just never seem to come through, and it worries me. Hoopster, what do you got the Super Bowl looking like?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go like the Homer pick and take the Lions to get there, but I'm with Title. Like something does not seem right with the Eagles, and they fell off like hard at the end of last season, going into the playoffs, and just totally collapsed. I just kind of get the same vibe that it's just they're not going to be able to get it done. So I'm going to take the Lions to get there in the NFC. And the problem is, it's like after if you don't want to pick the Lions, like who are you picking?
It's so hard.
That's why
AFC is so much better.
I do agree. Yeah, I do think the Rams can make a run. Like I don't know if they can, get all the way there, but like I think they win. And I think they can win 2 games, and then I think they'll probably lose to the Lions to get there. So I'm taking the Lions. Then I'm going to take the Bills, and then I'm going to take the Bills to beat the Lions in the Super Bowl because I just don't think there's any chance the Lions defense. And it looked better last week, but that was Sam Darnold, and Sam Darnold made a lot of mistakes. So I'm going to take Bills, Lions, and I'm going to take the Bills to win it. But I do like those dark horse teams, the Rams and then the Chargers as well. I think the Chargers can make a run in this. So those would be the 2 teams I think could make some sort of run and maybe fall a little bit short.
The well done teams over there for Hoopster with like stakes. But I will say, I like the.
I was laughing though. Did you see the DK Onyx options? I saw that steak pack sitting there. I was like, how tilted would everyone be if I just got that and just burned the fuck out of every single one that came through on video?
What are you going to grab? The watches? There's not really anything that's probably what I'm doing. What about you going?
Scooters.
I was looking at them scooters, man. My kids love those scooters, so I might grab some scooters. Is that 4 or 5? There's only 1, and you get 2 of those puppies. Yeah, and you get 2 of them scooters. So I might do the scooters and take a look at something else.
Okay.
I'm going to give mine quick, and then we'll get to the slate. I know people want to talk through this, but just to say it, I was going to say I definitely think Philly's in it. I'm against you guys on that. I think it's going to be a different year for them. Hurts just got out of the concussion protocol. Barkley has been just a beast all season. I think they can do it this time. And it's hard because, like I say, if not the Lions, then you got to pick this dark horse. I just think on the NFC side, they're good enough. We've seen enough. They were turning on before they kind of turned off a little. So I'm still with them. I'm going to stick with that one. I've got it to be the Bills if I'm picking, but I mean, it's not even the homer. I think I could easily see an Eagles-Ravens Super Bowl as well. And it's the 2 teams that ramped up of all things, all those 0 running back people out there. You could see the team that picked up Barkley and the team that picked up Henry. And what do you know? They're in the Super Bowl, but my official pick is going to be the Eagles versus the Bills. And then I got Philly rolling over and I got Josh Allen getting the Super Bowl. So that's just how I see it right now. And maybe that's the case. And he'll make his case for why he won MVP, because I think he's going to lock that in too. I think it's done. So, all right. Anything else, Hoop, you want to add with that? If not, let's talk about the 2-gamer. The first game up is the Chargers Texans. But if you've got a grand scheme overview, go ahead with that.
Not necessarily like a grand scheme overview. I mean, the one thing that definitely stands out, I mean, there's options on every team, but I think the one team that definitely gets overlooked on the slate is going to be the Steelers. I mean, coming off, 4 straight losses, they've looked like absolute shit. And I mean, I personally think they could get their asses absolutely handed to them in this game. But that is the team, if you are looking for low ownership or leverage plays where basically everyone is going to be probably lower owned than anywhere's projecting, I think, just because it's just the least appealing spot. They're only projected to score 17 on the road, and they have looked really, really bad. And, they were able to find success early on in the season. And I think a lot of that, can be credited to Mike Tomlin just being experienced. And, he's been a successful coach in the NFL. So I think he was able to pick up some wins early on that they probably otherwise would have lost. I just don't think this is a very good team at all. And they've gotten exposed going into the playoffs. And I think they kind of further that here today. But with that all being said, like all their guys are going to come in, lower owned on this slate. The one thing that definitely stands out, I say overall, is lack of options at wide receiver. I mean, it falls off very, very quickly. You got Ladd McConkey, you got Nico Collins, And then you look around and there's not many other household names. Yes, Quentin Johnson coming off the big game last week, finally learned how to catch the football, and Herbert absolutely was peppering him. And, it worked out well for me. I had a team in I think it finished 15th in the Millie Maker. Obviously fell a little short, but it was a Herbert, Quentin Johnson stack, which, man, I would have never thought that would had a chance to be on the winner, but that's NFL DFS. But, Zay Flowers out, and I know a lot of people are going to want to go to Bateman, but I mean, this is an offense in the Ravens that, even with the big injury to Zay Flowers, like, there is still big bust potential for a guy like Bateman. So, I mean, you have two household names at wide receiver in my eyes, Ladd McConkey and Nico Collins. And then we go to the tight end position. It's been the same. We've had this slate numerous times, and the talking point every single time on these slates where, man, I want to play as many tight ends as possible. And I think that is the case again on the slate, where we have 5 very solid tight end options. You're going to get a lot of ownership. Double tight end is going to be very, very popular because it opens up the world, and these guys are all way too cheap. I mean, even starting with Mark Andrews. I mean, I've been riding this Mark Andrews train for, weeks now, going into back to the regular season, like weeks back. And it's been like 11 touchdowns in 9 or 10 games. I mean, Lamar is using him. Now Zay Flowers out. He's the most expensive guy there. So there's talking points, but the one thing that definitely stands out to me is Steelers probably way lower on than we're anticipating. Not much, big name guys at wide receiver, and then tight end. People are going to want to play a lot of tight ends here.
Okay, Title, I'll kick it over to you. I got some thoughts as well, but I thought Hoop broke it down pretty good for a lot of the spots. What's your thoughts, just the grand scheme overview on the 2-gamer?
Literally took the words, pretty much everything out of my mouth. Double tight end will be popular because when you get to receiver, it's very condensed. Running back, pretty condensed. And yeah, these tight ends are on the field a bunch, and they're pretty cheap. So it allows you to get the Nikos, the Ladds of the world when it is tough. Like when you get, let's see, I have 4 or 5 receivers projected over 10 points, and then the next at like less than 6.5, which just shows the drop off there. And I do think ownership will be really condensed when it comes to that. And what Hoop said about the Steelers, like, I mean, I'm not going to play Russ. We'll get there in a second, but all these Steelers will be low owned. I'm going to have to play some of them, like the Najees, the Warrens of the world. But I think Hoop broke it down perfect. Condensed at receiver, double tight end will definitely be popular. And what I do like, though, is they have a big enough gap from Lamar to the Herberts to the Strouds of the world, where Lamar might be the highest owned quarterback, but I think it will be relatively-ish close because of, again, 2K, and there's not that many savings. And if you do go that route, it's going to be a double tight end, a very similar build. So I'm excited to go through these position by position, see where we can make some pivots.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing right away is what you said. Like, nobody really wants the Steelers. Like the Mike Tomlin thing, I think he's an awesome coach for the players. Like, he's definitely a player's coach when he's out there, but it always gets talked up every season because of his winning record. But it's like an 8-8 record or a 9-8.
He's a regular season grinder type coach. I mean, that's what he is. And, he's
better than most. I mean, really,
for sure.
These other shitty coaches. I get where that comes from, but it's like, I do see a spot here where they try and just, again, I don't think it works out, but they're going to try and slow Lamar down. They've seen him enough. They know what he is. Both teams know what they are, that I at least have some interest in that side. So I'll be a little bit different there probably than the field. I also think Nico Collins is just getting pushed into everything because you can. And he's one of the ones I have the least interest in, of like McConkey, Mixon, Derrick Henry, the spend ups. I think it's just, I know why he fits and it's natural. And especially if they're playing from behind, it would make sense. But I actually like Mixon more at a different position at a similar price point. Obviously you can play them both, but just noting that as well. And then I think that a lot of people even in the chat said about the 2 tight ends with like the specific, 2 tight ends in Andrews and Likely. But I think you could still there's tons of 2 tight end options. Like, Freiermuth against the Ravens could just be 10 catches or 8 catches because they're just down and throwing it to him. So him with one of those guys, or Schultz, Disley, there's definitely tight ends in the mix here. And then I wonder about these backups. You talked about, Mechie hurting you guys, but like not backups, but the ones that people aren't thinking of. More people are playing Schultz than Mechie. More people are playing Likely and definitely Andrews more than Aguilar. Like Calvin Austin, not that popular. So I'm going to switch up some of my lineups that way and get different. And then I definitely think you can leave a bunch of money on the table, just the nature of the slate. Like one guy beats one guy and it's game over. So I can easily leave $3,000, 2,500, whatever it is, and maybe more. I'll have to look and see by the end of tonight, getting into tomorrow. So Hoop, let's go to quarterback. I'll start with you. You already mentioned about leaving sort of Russell or at least the field, leaving Russell out. But Lamar, Herbert, Stroud, what's your thoughts at the quarterback position?
I thought what Title said made sense. I mean, there's a huge gap from Lamar down to these other guys. And, when you go in there and you start building teams, like the upgrades you're going to be able to get with $2,000 is pretty substantial. I mean, you're going from Quentin Johnston to Ladd McConkey, which obviously Quentin Johnston had the big game last week, but that's a huge upgrade. $2,000. I mean, right there, you can go from Bateman to Ladd McConkey. Those are just one example of situations that you can exploit by going cheaper at quarterback. I hope the field does that because I want to jam Lamar as much as humanly possible. And people are going to see what Justin Herbert did last week, the big fantasy game, and want that. So I hope the ownership on Lamar comes down. It'll at least be held in check because of that pricing difference. It's not going to be super, super crazy. So going to continue to ride Lamar. It's worked out on these smaller slates, and I think it's definitely the move tomorrow or on this 2-game slate. Herbert looks good, and then people are going to choose Stroud over Russell Wilson. I mean, I'm just going to be off most of the Steelers stuff, and they are still getting some ownership. So it's one of those situations where even though he's the lowest owned, like if I X him out and don't play him, I'm still getting some sort of leverage on the field because he is going to be owned, I'd say somewhere between 8 to 10%. So off of him, Stroud is the other one that doesn't look all that good. I mean, it's been very rough for that entire offense. I'm fine being similar between like Stroud and Herbert if that's what it comes to when I build my teams. Like I like Herbert more, but I'd be fine being somewhere in the same vicinity because I think it is Justin Herbert, the one that gets pushed up here quite a bit. Like I think his ownership ends up being higher than what most places are showing. We're showing 26. I think it's probably more 30, low 30 range. And I think it's going to be a direct result of, Lamar Jackson coming down. I don't think Lamar Jackson's going to be 52, and there will be adjustments and stuff, obviously, going into tomorrow. But I think there's going to be the gap between Herbert and Lamar is going to be much, much closer than anyone showing, not only us, but everyone showing. But it'll just be the 3 guys, and I'm going to try to play as much Lamar as possible without, making sacrifices at other positions. So him, then, Herbert, Stroud, whatever I get with those 2, I'm kind of good with. And obviously it'll all be reflected in the player pool over at SHIPITNation.com. Probably building, later this afternoon or this evening. So I'll have my exact numbers in there, but, I'm fine just being off Russell Wilson. Like if it's Russell Wilson that beats me in the first round of the playoffs, then so be it. He looks like shit. He's actually a shitty quarterback. He's just not good. Like he's just not a good quarterback. It's the name. Like he's done a good job branding himself. He fucking sucks as an NFL quarterback. He's going to get his ass kicked tomorrow.
We'll see. That's what we got to see. So 5,300, but it's only $200 more to go to Stroud. So I know some people would look at it that way, but I think Title, it's for sure what we're seeing here in Shiptimizer, not necessarily the ownership. Those will be adjusted. This is our initials that went up, but you can definitely see that the exposure an optimizer wants to give you is Lamar. Sean, our boy, asked thoughts on locking Lamar in 20 max. Thoughts on that, Title, before you take over any other thoughts you have at the quarterback position?
Yeah, I mean, it's all a risk preference. It's not something I'm going to do because, like, I hate to say Hoop keeps going first. He makes my job easier, but I do think that gap between Lamar and Herbert does close in ownership because you do get a lot of upgrades. I don't hate locking Lamar. The thing is, like, Herbert gets you 26 in the first game or Stroud gets you 22. Like, that's a great score. They're 9.5-point favorites. They can definitely rely on King Henry. So I prefer mainly to build because I'm playing 20 teams and a 20 entry max. Some are only playing 3, 4, 5. I can build independent lineups. I don't need all my bubbles on the right or the left. So it's not something I'm going to do, but he is my favorite quarterback. So I don't think it's crazy. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty much identical with Hoop. You can see I'm still getting over this cold. It's really annoying, but I'm not playing Russell Wilson. I'll probably be pretty close with CJ and Herbert because I do think CJ, there is going to be a decent gap from Lamar or Herbert down to CJ Stroud. CJ does have a 1 yard better passing prop, the highest actually on the slate at 231. I will be playing a lot of Nico. So a way to eat into Nico chalk is playing a little lower owned CJ. Eye test wise, anyone that's watched the past couple weeks, CJ Stroud's awful, one of the worst quarterbacks, blah, blah, blah. on a 2-game slate, I'll lean into that a little bit. I mean, at least it's not Will Levis. I touted Will Levis on a 2-game slate. I feel a little better about CJ Stroud. So, and also with him, like you mentioned, Tambo, I will be playing those bum wide receivers to get different. You have so many with CJ. You have Mechie, who's going to get some ownership, but not much. The Robert Woods, the Xavier Hutchinsons of the world. When we get to receiver, like their snap counts, these guys are on the field, obviously, since Tank Dell has been hurt. So even Deontay Johnson, 22 snaps last week there. So I'm definitely Lamar favorite. And then the Herbert CJ, I'll be pretty close. And that means I'll probably be overweight CJ, a little under Herbert. And then we'll get to running back. That means I'm probably going to play a good amount of Dobbins as well. But definitely Lamar my favorite. And then CJ Herbert, no.
Yeah, you said on 2-game slate. Me and Ross are laughing. Ross been here a bunch all season, obviously. So shout out Ross. He's saying, buddy, you touted him on a 12-game slate. We talked about him.
That too.
Put a 1 on the front of that too, and you got 12.
Well, it was 2-game ones, but yes. Hey, I want to ask this. I think they're better off. Like I've been saying, I think the Steelers have a better chance to win with Fields back there. 100%. Obviously, it's not going to happen. But do you agree? What do you think, Tambo?
Man, imagine they just roll him out like first drive.
Yeah, they won't do that.
Well, I mean, it's simple. They have no chance with Russell Wilson back there. So, like, at least there's something different with Fields. It's a different dynamic. I fully agree that
you guys are talking me out of my Wilson shares, man. I was thinking about
just dump him, man.
He's so low owned. I mean,
I'll have to
think his ass. Just think about your Ravens defense. How sad you're going to be when they're in his face, just sacking up. I mean, man, just don't do it.
That's what I'm thinking now. I'm starting to wonder. And what I really like, too, is something the title just said, because you only get 2 games to talk about. So it's like that can really set you up for success out of the gate. If you've got these overstacks on these Texans, they're the opposite side of Herbert, where that's huge leverage that way. Because we can talk all day, and I agree with both of you that Herbert's going to eat into Lamar's ownership some. But also, I just don't see where Stroud eats into Herbert's at all. And he's on the opposite side for $500 less. I don't love Nico. But how would I like Nico? If it's a big game that actually affects him, guess who that's going to help? Stroud. He doesn't need it because he's the type of guy that can get you 10 for 160 and nothing. And that doesn't mean Stroud goes off, but when you can overstack that side with some Schultz, one of those other guys like Mechie or something, you can put Mixon into it. If you can play Lamar Henry on this slate, which you absolutely can, why not play like a Stroud Mixon and do some stuff there? Go ahead.
Here's another talking point with the Texans. Maybe I'm talking myself into Stroud a little bit more in this offense. Like they're one of very few playoff teams that had literally nothing to play for like the last couple of weeks. I mean, they were essentially locked in 3 weeks ago. You knew they were going to be the 4 seed. They had nothing to play for the last week. They had nothing to play for 2 weeks ago. And I'm not saying like they were coasting and like hiding things, but like they've looked really, really bad. And I'm not necessarily saying it's by design, but they had like is no motivation to finish out the season strong, like whatsoever. So I don't know. Are you guys factoring that in like at all? Like it's just a thought that actually just kind of popped in my head. I don't know. I mean, just spitballing here a little bit.
Definitely don't
just the ownership. The ownership just has to be low, and I hate Russell Wilson. So instead of like that's the one thing I can get a little different on, and the plethora of low-owned wide receivers. But yeah, they came out last week. They didn't have to play anyone. First drive, Nico touchdown. They were absolutely feeding them, trying to get in a rhythm. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like that. I guess that's another added bonus, but also just even on the entire season, the Texans do pass it a bunch. And so that's another thing that it makes sense and it's going to be good leverage. Cause I think even if people overstack the spot, it's absolutely going to be with the Chargers. Like people are going to play Herbert, McConkey, Johnson, all that. I am too. I actually love that. I was going to say that, just finishing out the quarterback position, I guess, is what I like about the Chargers is everyone's going to stop at, McConkey, Johnston. Maybe they get Disley in there, but I'll get a little Darius Davis in that way. I'll slam the Chargers D in going up against the popular Nico. Like you can just jam 6 guys from the Chargers if you have a feeling about that game, and it still allows you to get the Ravens that you want. So I really like that spot to overstack, but now you guys got me thinking about just moving my Wilson shares over to Stroud and be able to do it that way. And I'm fine with it. I think that's, the overstacks in these shorter slates, typically, if you've got the Chargers and the Ravens winning and handily in both spots, then obviously you can just overstack that, leave whatever money's left behind and roll from there. But I think that's probably good to wrap out quarterback. Title, I'll go to you. Running back, let's move on there. Looks like Derrick Henry, then Mixon, even Dobbins. But after that, it's like there's options. It just depends on where you feel most comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, there is options, but it definitely falls out. Like, it's going to be really easy for me. It's going to be a clear 6, the Mixon, Henry, Dobbins, Warren, Najee, Justice Hill. I know I won't want to play Najee and Warren together. I want to limit my Steelers. But again, it's a 2-game slate. If the Steelers win this game, it's not like it can't get there. I think I'm going to have to play some. Like, I don't love Justice Hill as much as I did in the regular season. I really think they're going to pound King Henry as much as they can. Justice Hill always better in trailing game scripts or 2-minute drills. But it's 700 more to Warren, 500 more to Najee. So then it's pretty much just 5 running backs for me. I know I'll have a good amount of J.K. Dobbins because I already talked about maybe being a little under on Herbert. I'll be more on C.J. Mixon can catch passes out of the backfield. Great price tag. Like, I'm definitely playing Mixon. You can play him with C.J. You can definitely play Derrick Henry with Lamar. But the Najee Warren stuff, I think I'm just naturally going to have to lean into. And, like, I don't love, like, Pickens is okay. I'll be playing him. I don't love it, though. I'll probably have more Calvin Austin, or at least over the, like, compared to the field, I'll have more. And then Freiermuth. I'm just really capping my Steelers stuff. And I think I prefer Warren than Najee because if they're trailing, he is out there more. But I will say, Najee's, I mean, eye test wise, he has looked good. And the Steelers will want to pound the football, take it out of Lamar's hands. So I think just at ownership, Dobbins probably my favorites. I'm going to have a lot of Henry and Mixon, but I have to play some Warren, Najee. I'm going to group them away, though. I want you guys to talk about Justice Hill a bit, but I don't love it nearly as much as I have the past couple weeks.
Yeah, just coming back, right? So that's going to be obviously the tricky part. We know he's in, he's going to play, but it's, $4,500, solid price. It's just a matter of how they use them, what that looks like. Definitely taking risk in MME. I don't care. Like, I know Mitchell's been in and other stuff that people have seen, and so they think that maybe the Ravens are switching it up, but I think it's going to be just fine. And if you've got the Ravens smashing, I could see them still trying to get him back into the mix, going in getting him ready for down the stretch. He was the guy right before. So what are you doing with Justice Hill? And then talk through the rest of the running back position.
Yeah, I think, in play, you need probably a low scoring position, I think, for it to pay off. Like, you need probably like Mixon to bust or something like that, I think, for Justice Hill to be the guy that gets there. But he's going to be in play for me. I think the Ravens, take care of business in a big way. I definitely am fine playing him at 45. And it's the same thing, like, with him all season. Like, tends to get it in bursts. Like, if he's out there for a 2-minute drill and, he gets a dump off or something, or a couple dump offs, he can kind of get there. So I'm in on it. Not a core player or anything like that, but definitely part of the player pool. Agree with the Najee, Jalen Warren stuff. Definitely don't want both those guys, especially because of how I think that game's going to go. Definitely will have more Warren than Najee, though. I do agree, though, again, that Najee has looked better. He's a guy that on these 2-game slates have hurt me a little bit because he has had good games, and I've been underweight, and I'll continue to be underweight on him. And so if he has a good game, I probably lose this week, but not going to prioritize him. The one guy, though, that I think has a chance to, maybe get squeezed a little bit, haven't really built teams a ton, is Joe Mixon. Like, I think it's similar to the situation we talked about at quarterback, where Stroud is going to come in lower than anticipated. I think Mixon has a chance. Everyone's going to want Henry. It's a clear spot. And I want as much Henry as I can get. I'm going to get as much Henry as possible. But if you get as much Henry as you possibly can, that means it's probably coming at the expense of a guy like Joe Mixon, who, again, this offense has not looked good. I think people are just going to be willing to maybe sacrifice some shares of these Texans guys just because of how the offense has looked recently. So I think there is a chance that he comes in a little lower owned than projected. And then with the J.K. Dobbins thing, like, I'm fine with Dobbins, but I'm a little nervous with Gus Edwards back. Like, we haven't seen both those guys together in a while. Last time Edwards played, I think he went off, I'm pretty sure, and then got hurt. So I don't know. I'm a little nervous about that situation. Can't be too picky, obviously. It's a 2-game slate, so we can't really fully analyze and make big sweeping decisions based on something small like that. But I am moderately nervous with the Dobbins stuff with Edwards being back, but it's a clear position. You got like the 6 guys that are in play. Definitely I'll be underweight on Harris. I'll have a little bit of Justice Hill, as much Henry as possible, and then like Mixon and Dobbins will obviously fill in a ton.
Yeah, I'm interested. Like, even with the Lamar ownership, we've got just the dry run up here in Shiptimizer. It shows 84% on 150 lineups. It's giving us all these different combinations. Even Tylan Wallace, is in there because obviously no Zay. So it's just pumping a bunch of these overstacks with Lamar. And that is the one interesting thing, because I tend to agree with you. Obviously, I think people go Nico Collins over Joe Mixon. So that's different positions, but at least picking it from that team, not putting multiple people most likely, but outside of game stacks. But this is interesting that because the Ravens overstacks look popular in an optimizer, I'm not sure how many will adjust for that. You can actually fit Henry and Mixon together quite easily.
So if you go to wide receiver real quick, it must be Nico Collins that's not getting much in our builds. Yep, yes, exactly. So that's it. Yep. So he's the one left out, based on our projections.
Right. And I don't know, again, we'll see how it actually ends up shaping out, because I don't think people are going to feel as good about these, Bateman, Aguilar, Wallace. We know they want the tight ends more, so that will be able to boost it up there. For tight end, we still have Schultz coming in much higher than everybody else, but then Andrews and Likely just behind that. So we'll see. I tend to agree with you though, Hoop. I think that Mixon is the one that gets squeezed, because people will go to Collins, if not nobody there, and be able to pick and choose their other spots after King Henry, who's going to be extremely popular for good reason on this slate. So I like that. The Gus Edwards thing, I think him and Justice Hill are the two that are in play. We'll see how the field actually ends up. I think everyone auto assumes, kind of like you guys, Title broke it down perfectly. You'd want Warren because they're down. I think the field assumes that they're going to be losing to the Ravens. Why wouldn't it go to him? I think you have to remember it does, I've seen a lot of these games and it does start with Najee, and then it just depends on how Najee goes. He has looked pretty good. And what do you think they're going to want to do? They're going to try their ass off to keep Lamar off the field as much as humanly possible. They have the defense there that can do it. They know him a little bit better. I'm not saying it's going to work. I'm just saying that could lead to more Najee touches than everyone's sort of thinking. And then it's, hoping on Jaylen Warren down the stretch. So I like both those guys to mix into the pool, but I think you're building them accordingly within your lineups. I talked earlier liking Mixon over Collins. I'd probably now go to my, Collins going into my Stroud lineups to get all the way there. And then obviously the Herbert run backs. But yeah, I think that's the setup here. And then a little bit of Gus Edwards, because he can get you 2-3 touchdowns. And if you got a lineup where you need it to find space, and if J.K. Dobbins is in there, it's not even the questionable tag or whatever else. It's just find the money and just hope that it goes your way in that spot. It's a perfect way to do it. Drop down to Gus Edwards and then see what that does for your builds. Or you could literally just build your best J.K. Dobbins lineups and then put Gus Edwards in instead on a slate like this and just hope he steals the touchdowns and gets there. So I don't know, Hoop, you got anything else to add from that? If not, you could take us into wide receiver.
I think that's a good call. I mean, it's definitely the way to do it on these smaller slates, and we've seen it be successful in the past, where you just don't play the starter and you just go to the backup running back. I think it was Squirrel Patrol. I don't know, it was like last year or something with the who was it? It was Jerome Ford was backing up Nick Chubb. Yeah. And that sort of build got the job done because nothing else in that lineup looked all that crazy. Mitchell, it's going to be super low owned, unowned stuff. I mean, there's a chance those guys don't see the field. I mean, that's the one risk you're running. But again, it's if they get blowout time, I mean, you're playing those guys to either injury or massive blowout, basically, is what you're looking for.
Build very accordingly, for sure. It's a few lineups because you're building that exact route, not just the route of what way you're going with your roster construction, but the route of the Steelers getting crushed by the Ravens. I personally don't see that. And it's not a homer, like a protection piece. I just think the Steelers can do enough. It's, the spread's 10. It's not 20 here or something like that. I also think that it's what we talked about. Tomlin is just going to grind it and still lose, but he's going to grind it as much as he can. They're going to try and stick around. They'll be down 14, down 7, down 14, and then maybe they end up losing by a little bit. But that type of game doesn't necessarily lean towards that. So again, just build accordingly anytime you're doing something like that. But good call out there. Go ahead.
I got one more thing on running back. So Haskins, do you guys think Gus just takes all of Haskins' work? Because Haskins was getting a good amount, especially at the goal line. Man, my voice is so annoying. He was plus 400.
Yeah, go ahead.
He was plus 400 to score. Gus's is better, but the reason I'm not playing Gus is I think Haskins and him might rotate a little bit in that same role. And if Gus falls in once, like that still might not be enough. There is real people at the position. So any thoughts on with Gus now back, the Haskins stuff?
My thought was that Haskins was getting – I know that everyone talks about it all the time with Harbaugh there, loves him, and they want to get him involved and all that stuff. And people liked Vidal, remember, too. And Haskins was even getting his. But I think it's a lot – I think it was a product of Gus being out. They went out and got Dobbins and Gus Edwards. The Harbaugh brothers knowing all the situation, both those guys coming over from the Ravens. So I don't know. We'll see. I wouldn't hate if you want to roll to Haskins instead there, especially in your large field stuff. That's again where you could just make that pivot. What if it's late in the game? What if it's early and they use them from some goal line stuff? Who knows? But the props can't be that different on those two, are they? Like, is Gus way ahead of him?
Plus 225 for Gus to score, plus 400 for Haskins, so a decent bit better.
Gosh, what's the worst? That's got to be like the worst bets in sports betting. Like just straight up betting touchdown scores. Like you got to do like a parlay or something. I mean, those odds are just glaringly awful. Just
DJ Chark plus 295.
Stop.
Yeah.
That is just robbery. I mean, they're robbing people on those. That is insanity. Yeah. I don't think many people bet them straight up, though. I mean, a lot of times when people have the touchdown props, it seems like they're parlaying a bunch together and hoping that they hit.
That might even be worse. Parlay the
true.
Stack up worse odds. Keep going.
Yeah, that is a very good point.
A no market. Can you get like a no market opposite that? Because even though it's a big boy number, it may actually be value if it's that bad on the other side. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's predatory.
Yeah. Did you have anything to add on that one, Hoop? If not, if you do, go ahead. If not, take us into the wide receiver stuff.
Yeah, nothing to really add there. Wide receiver, like I said, I mean, the one thing that definitely stands out is this could be a low-scoring position for sure. I mean, wide receiver, especially on DraftKings with the full PPR, like you can rack points up, but this could be a low-scoring position. You got Nico Collins and you got Ladd McConkey. Nico at 7.8, McConkey at 6.8. After that, there is risk with any other click on the slate, in my opinion. I think the floor is low. People are going to feel good about Bateman, and rightfully so. No Zay Jones. He's looked good. He's had big games. If Baltimore gets out to a big lead here, Bateman is not getting the job done. If they get out early lead, if they get up 14-0 or something like that, Bateman likely bust. George Pickens has looked like absolute shit. Last week it was terrible. The connection with Russ appears to be gone. I mean, it was solid at some points in the season. It looks bad. Quentin Johnson, people are going to feel good playing because of the massive game last week. He has no lock to follow that up. So it falls off quick. So I'm going to be willing to take some chances at the position. You guys kind of touched on it earlier when talking through it. Guys like John Mechie, guys like Nelson Aguilar, guys like Tylan Wallace. Like Tylan Wallace takes one to the house for 60 yards. That's probably good enough on the slate. Hutchinson, like you guys talked about, Robert Woods. So there's a lot of guys that I'm willing to just gamble on at the wide receiver position. You talked about DJ Chark and talk shit about his touchdown prop, but 3,100. I saw his ass get a red zone target last week. That interests me. Darius Davis. Did he score? Did he score it? Yeah. So he did score it. Yeah, Darius Davis. Maybe that's the guy I'm thinking of that maybe didn't convert on his, but I think
he scored too, didn't he? Or did it get called back?
He definitely. I know he was in the.
He had some sort of play for sure. His name was called. I know his name was called, but no Josh Palmer. He got called back. Yeah. So no Josh Palmer. I guess we didn't really talk about, but that's somewhat significant with this passing attack. So Chark, Darius Davis, Tylan Wallace, Nelson Aguilar, John Mechie. Guys like that, I want to take chances on those guys at wide receiver, and that will be in lieu of George Pickens shares. That'll be in lieu of Rashad Bateman shares. Like I'm not getting to the big ownership numbers on Pickens or Bateman. I'm going to play them, don't get me wrong, but it is not going to be, close to 50%. Like I'm fine passing on that. Nico Collins, though, I think is another guy that has a chance maybe to go a little lower owned than we're anticipating, based on the one thing I did look up. We have a lower number, which I'm fine with. Like I don't ever want our projections to be the same as the industry. Like I never want that to be the case. And that's one thing we pride ourselves on. We run our process, we want to run our projections, and we stick with it. We don't look at what other sites are doing and make adjustments. By the end of the week, you go around the industry, everyone's very similar on a number because they don't want to be an outlier. We happen to have a lower number on Nico Collins this week compared to the industry, 4 to 5 points lower in some spots, which, we're fine with, rolling with that. But I do think Nico Collins has a chance to come in a little lower owned. If people spend, they're going to want Lamar. They're going to want Derrick Henry. They might want, Joe Mixon. I think Collins has a chance to maybe get squeezed a little bit. He's going to have substantial ownership, but I think there's a chance get squeezed like maybe a little bit. So I want to prioritize like Nico and Ladd. It seems like just one of those guys for sure is getting there. I don't even hate a rule, and you're probably going to get this on most of your teams, so it's nothing crazy, but like having one of those two in all of my lineups. And again, it's probably going to naturally happen when you build teams. You probably don't need to force that in, but I really want to make sure that I have one of those two, Nico and Ladd. And then after that, I'm willing to take risks at this position on all those guys I mentioned. They're all, despite the situation, pretty low owned. I'm not seeing much ownership on all those random guys that I rattled off. So I think there's going to be, some surprises at this position in terms of the optimal team and what wins it at the end of the day. So I want to embrace some variance at wide receiver on this 2-game slate.
Yeah, Title, I'll go to you on this. I just popped it up. I think, to me, Hoop has to be correct on this one because we're already projecting him lower, which I love because I hope the rest. I'm actually I'm way lighter on him than the other guys at that similar price point on this slate. But I think so would most be, to Hoop's point. So if I see this lineup, you can't really do anything. This is already two tight ends that are popular and cheaper. Quentin, if people are expecting the follow-up game. Bateman, who we're getting 90% of in our runs. He's just 5K, no Zay. And then you put Collins. If you're cutting someone here, or even if maybe you're not, but I think the general public is chopping out Nico here to get that money back. I don't think they're going away from Henry. And again, we know that you could see these builds, which is your point earlier, Title, not to rattle off here, but just I get it. At least this one's more viable. And that's why I think you nailed it earlier that we're going to see even more Herbert than expected, because then people, I already got Lamar covered. I got Derrick Henry. That's not necessarily true. If Henry runs in for 180 or something and Lamar throws for 3, well, then you got problems probably. But what's your thoughts on that, Title, with Nico, and then take it from there?
Yeah, Nico's one of my favorite plays on the slate. 87. I mean, I think he's a top 5 receiver anyway. He's going to get owned, but you can't play everyone at the end of the day. And back to what you just said with the Herbert stuff versus Lamar, I think people will lean into the Herbert stuff. Not people aren't going to play Lamar, but your lineup looks a lot better when you do go Herbert with that 2,000. I love what Hoop said. I just made the rule. I think almost all my lineups probably had one of Ladd, Nico, but I just jammed that rule. The receiver position's so soft. If one of those two aren't there, I'll live to fight on Sunday. MMA's going on. There's Monday. There's a lot of cheese to be made this week. So that is something I'm going to do. Again, most builds probably will get you there. I'm going to be underweight Pickens, no doubt about that. I don't love the Steelers. When I am playing Steelers, it's the Calvin Austins, the cheap, Freiermuth cheap, or one of the running backs that are pretty different at that position. We're still getting 41%. We have George Pickens. Yeah, no thank you. I definitely will be way under the field on that. The Bateman stuff I'm going to have to play because I'm playing a lot of Lamar, but there's other guys. And I want you to touch on, with Aguilar coming back, he's missed the last 3 weeks. Tyler Wallace got a lot of snaps, 73% of snaps. This Devontae Walker guy got 21%. I'm wondering what you think that split's going to be. Obviously, no Zay with Aguilar, Wallace. Obviously, we know the Ravens run a lot of 2 tight end sets. I will be playing Aguilar. I will be playing Wallace, even more so in my Lamar teams. Herbert, again, I'm not playing as many Herbert teams. I'll still have a decent amount when I do play him. DJ Chark looks really interesting for low ownership. He had 47 or 49% of snaps last week, 31% for Davis. So those are 2 guys that I'm more likely to use when I play Herbert teams. Again, it's running backs thin. Tight end, when we get there, they're going to get a lot of ownership. But I think the receiver position and these bums, I'm hoping one of them get there. And I'm going to play more of these bums with my starting quarterback. So Herbert, Davis, Chark. I prefer Chark. The Aguilar's Wallace when I play more Lamar. Then when I'm playing CJ, you have Woods, Hutchinson, and Mechie and Deontay Johnson. He played 37% of snaps. People know Deontay Johnson's good. They went out and got him. That's definitely something I'm going to lean into. They're going to throw the ball a lot. I love Nico, but all those other guys are going to be pretty low owned. That is what makes me appealing with CJ. And then I can jam Derrick Henry. I can jam Mixon. I can do whatever I want and eat more chalk that way. So love Ladd, love Nico. Will be way underweight Pickens. And you have those secondary plays, the Davis, the Charks, Aguilar's, Wallace, Woods, all of that. Going to play them even more so when I am playing that quarterback on that team. But I want you to touch on a little Aguilar, Wallace, how you see that split going.
Aguilar is this week's Quentin Johnston, guy that can never catch. You even saw the videos. Remember the old one? Buddy said he came out the house and he was talking about the fire or something. He's like, he dropped that thing like Nelson Aguilar. That's what everyone knows. That's the situation, but I just don't know. It's, someone mentioned it earlier in the chat, and you got to remember that too. It's the playoffs. So when it gets to the playoffs, it's set up more of just stick with their guys, and is Tylan Wallace going to be their guy? That's what it's tough to balance. I'm going to play him in DFS, of course, because that's how you set your lineups apart. The Charks, the Deontay Johnsons, the Darius Davis, like you said, it was Hoop called it was an end zone target that he didn't get. So it's like he was still in the mix, and you said 31% of the snaps. Probably prefer Chark just based on more snaps, 3 targets, caught a touchdown, big dude in the end zone. I think that he can catch one for them. So I could see that makes it interesting, especially because he's less than Quentin Johnston, who people may chase and follow up. I like Ladd a ton on this slate at 6,800. His props aren't that much lighter than Nico. They probably get similar ownership, but that's $1,000. It's not that you need the money. I just like that call. It's he can get it in tons of different ways. These splash plays across the board. So I like him. I like the backups, the guys behind Nico for the Texans, and then I like the Aguilar and Calvin Austin's. Like I said, I like all these little plays that no one can get to, and they're just going to play cheaper tight ends because of that. I think it's also a spot to exploit where it could be very low scoring. It could be the same for tight end. If everyone just auto assumes 2 tight ends and it's got to be that, it could just be that you need one of these tight ends that goes off, and then it ends up being one of these backup wide receivers that, nobody's playing. So I'm going to embrace that a little bit just from an overall roster composition as well. I know I'm going to get a ton of 2 tight end lineups, and we all know why, and that's fine. Hopefully they're built differently, and not who you play, it's how you play them. But I am going to embrace some of these backup wide receivers and do 2 things. One that I just said, play some 4 wide receiver lineups or 3 running backs, and then using those cheaper wide receivers. And then 2, just leave some money on the table. Instead of Quentin Johnston, DJ Chark, bang. Who gives a shit? It's literally the same thing. It could be, again, wasn't last week. Yes, come correct me. But it doesn't matter. This week is not last week, and it's a 2-game slate. So I'm doing a ton of stuff like that. But I think I feel like it's Aguilar, coming back more than it's going to be making Tylan Wallace a thing. I'll still have Wallace, like I'll have Darius Davis and Chark on the Chargers game.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And again, the field will go that way too. Wallace could be 3%, Aguilar like 17. But I had to go blow my nose, step away. But you had me dying with the Aguilar talk. I just had to pull up the video again. It was the Philly Fires. They were throwing like babies out. Like he goes, we were catching them. Unlike Aguilar, literally the most serious interview, and he caught the biggest stray. So that had me dying. I had to pull it up.
So random and just so good. Like out of all the bad wide receivers in the NFL that drop passes, his ass threw out Nelson Aguilar.
When he was back on the Eagles, these Philly dudes really care about their team.
Oh, yeah.
It's people always go to someone who crushed them. I guarantee you that guy had Aguilar drop a pass for like a parlay or something that he had, and it stays in his mind. When I was in Nashville at the Fantasy Football World Championship, Hoople like this, it was his boy. The O's the Mentalist was there. We got to see the show, and he ended up like knowing a guy's bank PIN code based on the jersey numbers that 2 random people in the crowd picked. And one of the guys somebody picked was Marquez Valdez-Scantling. And it's like, what happened there. Buddy got owned in DFS because there's all DFS players in the room. It's a private event. He got owned on MBS one day, and you just remember the drops. Title, you've been playing a lot of poker. You remember when your aces got cracked. You don't remember when your 10s cracked aces. Like, that's just, I'm supposed to win. I'm playing good.
I still mention Isaac Okoro from like 4 years ago with who opening day. Like I brought it up on Wednesday's show with Real. Like, I will never. He literally went negative in OT. Played like 43 minutes.
43 minutes. I'll never overtime. Yeah, he finished.
He went backwards.
Yeah, he went backwards. Yeah, it's like 2 or 3 fantasy points.
Never will forget. So I always, like you always do as a DFS player for sure, or poker, whatever it is for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're getting into this lab. We're getting tight end, and then we're going to defenses. We're not going to spend a bunch of time at, but we got to get this teed up for the end. This is a new bit that we're bringing in. What is the hoop food take? Like I asked him a pineapple on pizza the other day title, so we got to get another food take into the chat.
I have for sure, but I have a feeling Title's not much of a pizza guy. Title's
pizza.
You do?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have it often because it's healthy.
You eat so healthy. Like I just didn't take it. If you like were not going to eat healthy, pizza would potentially be okay.
Love pizza for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you like pineapple on pizza though? We're getting ahead of ourselves. Okay.
No, I mean, not that I wouldn't eat it, but it's definitely way at the bottom.
Yeah.
So not likely to put pineapple on pizza,
Correct.
But let's use that to segue into tight end. Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, Dalton Schultz, Disley, Freiermuth, And then if you want to get to some of these backups, Darnell Washington, Cade Stover, like what are we doing at the tight end position? Because a lot of people are playing tight ends.
Yeah, and I'm also going to be playing them. I like Lamar a lot, so I'll definitely be playing Andrews likely. You can play them both. You can do a lot of different things like that. What also is fun about tight end is drop a Pickens in the flex down to likely or something like that. You use the Johnston to chart. I can drop the Batemans, the Pickens, Johnstons of the world to some of these like Freiermuth, the Disleys, the Likeleys of the world, the Schultz. So that is when I do play two tight end teams that's really strong. It's easier to leave money on the table, which is definitely something I'm looking to do on a 2-game slate. Really easy though, just those 5 tight ends. Andrews Likely, probably my favorites. Dalton Schultz, probably my third favorite because I'm going to play a good amount of CJ. Disley, Freiermuth, 2 fill-ins that I will be playing, but clearly those 5, I will have plenty 2 tight end builds, and it's easier to leave money with them.
How does this build lose, Hoop? Like, look at this build I got up here.
You win
Lamar,
with a million people.
Yeah. Well, exactly. It might win and just chop 100 ways, but you could still get a cheap wide receiver who we've talked about with the defense, and you've got everything else in there. So you got to think this is where we looked at it earlier, that this stuff just stays super popular. There's going to be Mark Andrews likely lineups that are even comboed up way crazier than they ever should be. Realistically, is what I see.
That looks, a lot of people have that sort of build.
Some sort of version. They cut one of the guys out. Like, it
sells itself out. You play a cheap defense, and then you got like the, one of those cheap wide receivers. So that'll be a move that a lot of people may. And then this is a question a lot of people like, can you play Andrews and Likely together? And it's a 2-game slate. Absolutely. And we talked about it with Likely. I don't know if it was last time out, but he's like wide receiver 2 in this offense. Like it's Bateman. They use Likely as a wide receiver, and then Andrews is the tight end. So I think Likely is a phenomenal play on the slate. Like I think he's one of the best plays on the slate. Like he's going to be used as a wide receiver. They'll go deep down the field with him. Like we've seen it all season. Like he's the real deal. He plays like a wide receiver. Love him. I'm going to continue on with the Mark Andrews stuff for sure. We've been ahead of the curve on it. I'm not going back. Like he's back to being Mark Andrews. Slow start to the season. I think he had an injury or something early on. He's back to being Mark Andrews, and now Zay Flowers is out. So love him as well. Disley, big boost to me with Palmer out. I mean, he's wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, probably. I mean, we like Chark. We talked about him, Darius Davis, but Disley gets a massive increase, and I really like him. And he's healthy. And then the same with Dalton Schultz. Like no Tank Dell. They're decimated at tight end. Like he's probably wide receiver 2 in this offense. So I'm looking at this tight end position, and I get that ownership is coming along with it. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of these guys are like wide receivers to me. They're not tight ends. Like Likely, Disley, Schultz, they're all benefiting from injuries in the offense. And I don't really care what the ownership is. These guys are just way, way too cheap for what their role is going to be in these games. So I love them. And then, with the Steelers, I've shit on the Steelers all throughout the show. And, Freiermuth is by far my favorite part of the Steelers offense. So I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people are going to have double tight end teams, like for sure, but I don't care. To me, these guys are just really, really good plays. Like I'll do different stuff elsewhere. Like I'm fine just eating the chalk or whatever you want to say at the tight end position. To me, these guys are just way too cheap. They're all, a majority of them are benefiting from, 4 of the main 5 are benefiting from a significant injury. The Ravens guys without Zay Flowers, Dalton Schultz without Tank Dell, and Stephon Diggs, and then Will Disley without Joshua Palmer, and he's back to full health. So just love these tight ends.
Title, let me ask you this. Like, okay, Likely he's going to be whatever he's going to be a lot, and that's fair. And I'm with Hoop. I actually love the play with Isaiah Likely here, but I'm just going to say I probably don't play these 2 specifically together, even in overstacks, unless I have at least $1,000 left on the table. Like this build, there's going to be a million versions of this that are literally the same thing in a large field tournament. If you're playing a smaller field and you're just looking to package them up, it's a great little combo pack at that price point, $7,900. But this is right here where Tylan Wallace comes in, right? You can plug in $3,100 here instead with no ownership, and then still get an overstack, get your leverage built in, drop your product ownership, maybe get a different D and a different final flex spot. and get a little bit different that way, at least, somewhat for large field. But these are obviously great 2 plays together. It's just I really struggle because this build, I mean, you can do whatever you want. Turn Ladd into Quentin. You got all the money again. Like, I don't know. This build just seems like it's going to be super, super popular in many ways, combos up.
For sure. And that I like you mentioned a point, like lowering your product ownership. If you're using Shiptimizer, almost any optimizers have it. But what's nice about Shiptimizer, you can go, I want to jam at least one guy under 10%. Maybe that's a little harsh. So you can do one under 18% or 2 under 18, or you build out the 150, you sort by ownership in that. Then you go down to total ownership and you can lower that. Your salary, you can go to 49.8, 49.7. You can build in sets. A lot of different things you can do on 2-game slates. I would definitely utilize that, the ownership and the forcing stuff in lower owned, because I agree with you. I don't want that build right there. I'm fine chopping a couple ways. I don't want to chop 95 ways, which that build looks like it could chop a lot.
Yeah, I know it's funny. I don't want to cut you off, but again, we get a lot of people that are watching the show probably like, well, that looks amazing. And they just go plug it in. It's like, you got to be thinking and thoughtful of what you're doing there. I'm not saying you can't play those two together. I'm not going to set up a rule to not play Andrews and Likely for 7,900 comboed with no Zay Flowers. That's not what I'm doing. I'm saying I don't like where that leads me to. So I would be much more comfortable in that build where I just let Bateman, whatever that cool lineup looks like that you just hand built out there as you're watching this, I can just drop Bateman to Aguilar, or I can drop Bateman to Aguilar and Ladd to Quentin and just see what happens. I'm going to take that risk because that lineup is almost the same dudes in the same places, but leaves so much money that others won't leave that I'm just naturally now turning it into like a 3-person dupe or less or something, just automatic, just thinking off the top of my head, right, Title? So you talk about it in Showdown all the time. You can apply a lot of that to 2-game slates as well.
2-game slates are a lot more like Showdown than a classic main slate. Not about how often you win, when you win. If you win 150K, you can lose the next 7 months, assuming you keep that same bankroll, and you'll be happy. So absolutely.
I still love that one. It's not how often you're right. It's how much you win when you are right. And just follow that. It's such a good one that I follow quite a bit. And, you and I have been shaking hands lately on these close calls through 6-figure stacks, but we still got a lot of time. These slates are massive, man. 500K on this current slate we're talking about tomorrow. And it's going to get chopped. If it does, it's like 5, 6, 7 foot. It's like 800,000 that's getting chopped up on a 3 or 4-way chop. So to me, you're still going to have a great day. Nobody's ever complaining about that. $1 million up top on Sunday, even in the standard just lottery $20. And then there's lots of other good tournaments that are $150, like a $150 3 max, $100 single entry, and you can extrapolate those down. I know everyone says I don't have that bankroll. There's great $50 single entry. If you go down from there, there's a great $33, a nice $12, an $8. Like you can really play in whatever you want for your style of game. And I love that about these slates, and they're staggered too. So you can have some advantage in between games. I don't know, Title, anything else you want to add there?
No, I do like that call, but with the staggered games, like if you're looking at a team and you see a snowflake, so you can't take first, and you had some low-owned pieces, and you're playing the min-cash game at that point. You can't take first. Whereas if you have really good flames, but you're like, oh man, like, let me try and get a real example. Mark Andrews, what am I trying to say? Just pretty much someone in the first game. Ladd busts. Yep. Ladd busts at 6,800. And so the pick, what I'm pretty much trying to say is if there's a 1v1 that pretty much is the same salary and you lose that by 2 points and you know that everyone else will have the same 2v2 or whatever, that's when I'd make a little pivot. You get off the 2v2, but you only need to make up 2 points to jump it, whereas you cannot take first place because you are blocked out at every other position. So stuff like that is when you rotate a little bit. So the late swap stuff, definitely important to keep in mind on staggered starts.
Yeah, I'll kick it back over to you, Hoop. I don't know if you want to add anything else here, but anything else for you to talk about with this?
No. I mean, agree. I mean, do you want to touch on defense at all, or
you can if you want? Like, I guess one take would be like last week, the Ravens were, said to be severely underpriced at $3,500, and the ownership certainly showed that. Doesn't look like that will be the case tomorrow. But what do you think? I mean, even they only went up $200 at home still, but not as big of a favorite against a worse of an opponent. So what's your thought?
The problem I have with defense is, like, I don't obviously want to play the Steelers at 2,200 and limited interest there. The the Texans are at home, but man, the Chargers do such a good job of limiting the turnovers. Like Justin Herbert, I don't know the exact number, but it's very low in terms of the turnovers. They just don't risk it a bunch. So it's really hard to get excited to play the Texans at 27. The Chargers against Houston, they've been, their offense has not looked great. The Texans, so the Chargers look good. And then the Ravens obviously look really good. So I'm just rolling with one of the top two for the most part. It's going to be a lot of as much Ravens as I can get, and then Chargers, and then Texans, and then hopefully just fade the Steelers. It's just very, very difficult. But, the argument against all that is anything can happen at defense. So if you want to do whatever, you can. But I just really struggle with the Steelers and the Texans defense, to be honest with you.
Yeah, just the question in the chat asked, and then I'll go to title on defense. But back to what I had there for 2 seconds, about having the balls to fade him or whatever with Derrick Henry. Let me, take him out and go back to get Lamar in. What does that leave us? Not too much there. So I don't think that's the bill, but let's say it's off Nico for somebody else. I guess that's kind of my point though, is we had a version of this. I forget exactly what it looked like. Something like this, I believe, was close enough anyway, where this, you can easily get to this because once you put in either the Chargers or the Ravens, you've got money for receivers that we've literally talked about. But that's the whole point. That build is just going to be so popular and it's good. And if it's a smaller field, I got no problem because just you're trying to fit pieces around and get there. But, for me in a large field tournament, I'm happily going to say if Lamar really gets there the right way with his legs, with Bateman, with Andrews, with Likely, all these guys get in the mix, I don't care about anything. Plug this in and leave $3,000 on the table. It doesn't matter because I'm saying the game went that it hurt Derrick Henry. Maybe that would be that it helps Jaylen Warren because that's the guy we talk about. If they're down that much, that's what it could be. So, or maybe this is the spot you go back to what our guy Jason brought up earlier and you decide to get a guy like Mitchell down the stretch. Lamar's went off and it's with Bateman, Andrews, Likely, and you can still get there that way. So lots of different things that you can do, but everyone's just going to go max their money out immediately and try and finish the job. And that's what that's where the problem typically lies. Once you max the money out, you kind of fall into that camp. Title, anything else on defense from you?
Well, I will say the Derrick Henry stuff. I mean, if you look at last game, he had 33, but going into the second half, maybe even the fourth quarter, it was long runs. It was snowflake 11. Yeah. So that shows anything can definitely happen. Defenses, Texans are definitely my least favorites. I would rather save the 500 and go Steelers. I'm fine playing Steelers against Lamar. Lamar likes using his legs. Things can happen, especially in the cold. By far, Ravens, Chargers are my favorites. But, I mean, it's so random. I'm not going to X anything out. If I played 10 teams or less, maybe I'd X Texans. But I think Ravens, Chargers are the best. But I definitely prefer Steelers, who are pretty much half the ownership, it's looking like, to the Texans. I agree with Hoop. Herbert and them they don't make mistakes. They run the football. The play action's good. Texans got Will Anderson, some good pass rushers, but they're my least favorite. I prefer Steelers for sure. That's 500 you can leave to get a little different.
Yeah, I'm with everything you just said. That's how I would feel about it. And I guess the only thing about the Steelers, like you said, is you don't really need that savings, so it's not really for the money as much as just what if. And also the fact they've seen Lamar a bunch of times. You got guys coming at him left and right. Again, I don't see it being a big deal on this slate. You could just play the popular defenses and leave the money. You can play tons of the popular defenses because they're popular for good reason. Like last week, I know people locked the Ravens in at 3,500. So, they're 60%. That's crazy. Or 50, whatever they were. The point was people had 100 of them. So what are you going to say to them? They've got 150 lineups with that D. So they're way ahead of you when you're spreading it out. So there's tons of different ways you can get different at defense. Nick asked about, can you just play them all at 25? You just be underweight on Chargers and Ravens, slightly on Chargers probably. I don't know, probably pretty close, but you'll be overweight on Texans and that. But again, why not just build accordingly? As long as all your other rules make sense, then I'm fine with it. But I would just look at that as you're building it out. So food questions, Hoop, is that where we made it to here?
That's what we made it to. We'll go through it. There's 4 or 5. I'll just go rapid fire and see if anything sticks. How about that? If anything sticks, we'll continue on.
I'm hosting. I got to start with this one. Black. This is the number one that I saw, so I wanted to start with this.
I mean, absolutely not. That is disgusting. I do like red liquor. I like red vines. You guys like red vines? Have you had
I
them?
like Twizzlers, they're called, but they're red.
Yeah, Twizzlers, yeah. So it's a different version, huh?
Yeah, I know what the red. It actually like peels off, and right?
No. It's a brand. It's different than Twizzler. It's called Red Vines. They're very good. Different flavor than the Twizzler. So if you like red licorice, try Red Vines. They're so good. Actually,
they don't like peel 1v1.
No, they do have those. I mean, that's something. I don't know who makes those, but Red Vine is a different. It's a different
let me
flavor.
ask you this about it. Do they have a hollow middle like a Twizzler, or are they the hard red nubs?
No. Hollow in the middle.
Like
it's like a little thicker than a Twizzler. It's just a different brand, but I'm telling you, the flavor is phenomenal. Put that on your list. If you like Twizzlers, man, do try some Red Vines. Red Vines.
Are you in or out on nubs though? Non-hollow red licorice, like the pure.
In for sure. I really like there's green apple ones that I really like that are not non-hollow.
All right.
Good. Any thoughts there? No,
I don't. I'm out on nubs. I'm out on chewing on nubs. I'll say that.
Okay. No, you're not a nubber.
I'm not a nub chewer. No.
I'm telling you though, find Red Vines, man. If they do have the hollow, they have the hollow inside. You'll love them. So this is where things get good for me, because if I was going to choose something to eat like that, my favorite sort of thing is Mexican related: tacos, burritos, nachos, anything along the Mexican side of things, like I'm in on. So I love Mexican food, probably my favorite style of food. So definitely tacos. And if we're going in order of these three, it would be in this order: tacos, and then chicken wings, and then burgers. But what I will say about burgers is I started doing the smash burgers this summer on the Blackstone. Smash burgers on the Blackstone are phenomenal. So it would be close probably between chicken wings and burgers, but those Blackstone burgers, man, are the real deal. So
we got to flip this one to title too for a ranking right quick. Everybody likes all this stuff, most likely. But what's the ranking?
Yeah, man, it all depends on the day. Like, that's really tough. I have a really good Mexican joint by me with a nice burrito, so maybe I'd go with that. I can't even rank that because it really depends on the day. That's some of my 3 favorite foods. I don't know.
It's so damn healthy, though. It's like, man, like this is all with the asterisk. This dude is like a very healthy eater.
I have days where I don't eat healthy. Like I have cheat meals, and these are all a part of the cheat meals. Yeah.
So little known fact, I'll give mine. No ranking needed. I like them all, but it's a big gap because my favorite food in the world, you can only pick one thing, is on this list.
Wing?
It's got to be it is chicken wings, yeah.
Chicken wings. I take chicken wings over anything else. That's my favorite. Any style, any kind, anything.
B-dubs? Is that a real chicken wing, or is that a fake chicken wing?
Is by far the worst nowadays. Like, it is terrible. Like, I remember when wings became popular, it was B-dubs. It is like, it's by far got to be the worst chicken wing. Which now there's a lot more options, which is nice. There's a lot more chicken wing joints out there, but B-dubs is falling. Bacon being used in absolutely not, man. Like, I think that's disgusting. If I'm eating
a maple bacon donut,
no, hell,
maple syrup.
If I'm eating like a dessert or something, like I do not want like bacon in it. So no, that's a big no for me.
Maple bacon donut. It's a honey glazed bottom with like a cream glaze on, like a icing. And then they sprinkle real bacon on top. It's amazing. So that one for sure.
Out for sure.
Anything, title?
I mean, I'm with who I think it'd be fine, but I would choose a lot of other flavored donuts ahead.
Yeah, so give me like sprinkles or something else on top of a donut before I go to bacon. Like, give me more.
This is a good one here. Candy. This is a good one. Keep rapid fire.
This is an easy one for me because I fucking hate McDonald's. If I'm choosing a fast food place, McDonald's would probably be the last place I would choose. Like, if I want something like this, I'd much rather have Wendy's. I'd much rather have like Chick-fil-A. So this is tough for me. I will say the fries at McDonald's are good, and I would just go with something. It's probably like a crispy chicken sandwich or some sort of chicken sandwich. If I'm hungover though, and like I just need to pick up something quick, I will get a double cheeseburger. So that's where I'm at with McDonald's.
Quarter pounder with cheese. What's yours, Tyler?
Yeah, quarter pounder is good. Big Mac. I rarely go to McDonald's too, though.
Same. Yeah. It's very, very rare.
Yeah. For dessert, I do like to dive into dessert. I'd say like the older I get, the more I kind of like chocolate stuff. So I like brownies, man. I'm gonna go with a nice solid brownie. I
hate chocolate desserts for the most part. Title, yours?
Yeah, I love chocolate. I would probably say a nice, good old-fashioned ice cream. Anyone that knows Handel's, I don't know if probably not by you Canadian, not by you either. I know it originated in Indiana, but Handel's some of the best ice cream.
You know what I like is a tiramisu cake or like a carrot cake. I usually like if I'm going, I'm not a big.
How old are you? Are you 80? That sounds like an 80-year-old. Like
Carrot
that's
cake's
like
good.
that's like an elderly. Yeah, but that's like the elderly people love that shit. Carrot cake and tiramisu.
Yeah, we needed this because we know this is where Hoop gets off the wagon again. I think he hinted at it last time, right?
I hate eggs. I think eggs are disgusting.
Oh my
And if you have them hard, right? You don't like the yolk?
No, I just don't even eat eggs. Like I just like there's no form of egg that I like. Like it's like the texture of it. It's disgusting to me.
That's why I'm about to weigh more than you soon because you ain't getting that protein. Come on, Hoop.
Not after the holidays. I gained 2 pounds over the holiday season. So I think I got you beat now.
Okay, he's out on eggs. Let me flip this to title: omelet, scrambled, or let's do over easy, pretty standard, or hard boiled. I could have put in there, but let's do over easy, like just to sit, dip the yolk type thing. Scrambled, omelet. If you had to rank them, what's your order?
I have like 4 over easy pretty much every day on avocado toast. So, and then I would go omelet, then scrambled.
I like omelet. I like omelet and scrambled because omelet you can put all the meats, the veggies, the stuff into. So.
Yeah, see, I'll do that though. I'll do like the meat eaters omelet or something like that with meat lovers. Yeah, meat lovers with cheese. Like I'd make it like very very unhealthy. I guess if I was gonna go with eggs.
Yeah. Nice omelet, eh? Title to start the day: 1,000 calories. And it's like low cal, high protein. Gear up. This man's got this thing decked out 1,200 calories deep. We will say I don't think we're in on this. We talked grilled cheese last time, but. I got like emails, literally. That's why people are, some people are leaving. That's fine. We're past the flow now. But I will say I got literal emails to info@SHIPIT Nation. And I'm like, oh, customer service. No. They're saying,
mayo.
By the way, my kid tried the mayo on the sandwich and it's an absolute game changer. Thank you guys. I was like, what?
But wouldn't it make the bread like super soggy? Like, I don't know. I feel like the way
that the butter, lightly, like butter. And then once you fry it on the heat, it's just searing it in. It's actually good. I was in on it. So
did you try it or you have tried it?
I've had it before. We talked about it last episode. That's why I brought it up. I knew it was a thing. I remember it being fine. It's not like I'm going out to make these. I don't eat a lot of grilled cheeses, but I got 2 small kids, right, that are 7 and 4. So we'll mix it into the bunch sometimes just to see how it goes. Grass-fed butter is the way to go, though, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
What is it?
You got to get the good butter for sure.
Grass-fed butter and put that on there? Damn.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got? Red vines, blah blah.
Oh, it makes it more crispy. So just the opposite, Hoop. Crispy.
The mayo does.
That's what he said. Maybe one day I'll have to try it.
Yeah.
Oh, here
my
we go.
Kids, like I don't cook much in the house, but my kids absolutely love when I make grilled cheese. I just it's the most basic grilled cheese ever. But I put 2 slices of singles, not one, so they love it extra gooey and stuff. So. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm good with either. Like, I get it. The problem now with like the boneless chicken wings, a lot of places it's just so much more breading that they put on there. So like, if you get these boneless chicken, especially like B-dubs, like all it is the breading now, and you get like a little tiny piece of chicken. So I've kind of transitioned back to traditional style. But,
or just say the truth, like it's literally not a chicken wing. It's literally just a chicken strip or a chicken nugget. It is not a wing. It's not. There's no bone. Like it doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Arby's, a freaking big old roast beef. I used to eat that stuff. I haven't been to Arby's in a while, man.
So bad. The meat just looks dirty, man.
It looks terrible.
Come on.
I remember back in the day getting those, the beef and cheddar where they just load up the cheddar that's kind of dripping off. But it does look like so gross, man. You get a piece of roast beef and look at it and man, it's a nasty looking thing.
Take out a piece of that roast beef and just give it a little fling for 2 seconds. It's like greeny and like oily and weird. Like I'm out all the way out on that. I don't care.
Here's the 3 and 4 for Tambo's dessert list: Werther's and mincemeat pie to add on to his whatever the hell he said is.
This is what you eat at the elderly home, like you said. Actually, that's what they're eating up over there. Or Hoop needs to get something a little easier to chew on after his jaw's busted up from the well done steaks. Might have to move on to mincemeat.
I cannot wait till it's grilling season. I'm going live on this channel and teach you guys a lesson. Teach you boys a lesson. It actually is pretty sad on the steak thing because my daughter, she's 11. Or 12, she's into steak. She likes steak and she likes it cooked less than I do. So that's like
normal.
My daughter is 7 and eats it like a medium rare and gets excited.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah.
So
Hoop, you're weird, man. That's the one thing you're weird on.
Yeah, people don't respect it, and you get a lot of dirty looks. But it's just I can't go away from it, boys. It's just, and I think it's one of those things. That's how I was. My dad was the same way, not a red meat guy, but if you ever ate red meat, it would be well done. So I've always had well done, even as a kid. So I think it's just something that I'm just.
What about like a blood burger? I know it's got to be the same, but if you ever go to like a barbecue or a cookout or something, and they're cooking burgers. And you got to go up and tell them, like, I'm out on one of those.
I just eat around the edges because the edges I've been in this situation before. And a lot of times, like, the outside is cooked a little bit more. So you just kind of nibble around the edges and leave the middle. So
that's why he had burgers last, because no one hockey pucks it. So he hates it.
Yeah. You guys don't like the red burgers, too.
Yes, of course.
We don't get them in Canada. They're too scared to even serve them up here. So it's only if you make it yourself with like a nice ground chuck. It's like a steak burger, essentially. So why would you be cooking it all the way? That's the point. But if you go to a restaurant in Canada, you can't even ask for it. They won't even, because they're too scared to risk it because they think you're going to get sick or something.
Yeah,
It goes.
My family does the good old, the ground or the high class ground beef on rye bread and onion without cooking it at all. Hoop, you would puke on that. I forget.
That sounds amazing to me.
Sounds terrible, bro.
It's not my favorite. It's salt onion, but it's just the raw beef, high class. You put on rye bread, onions. I can't remember. Someone in the chat will know what it is. You would puke.
Yeah, I do have some support, man. I told you guys last time the support started piling on a little bit as we started having these conversations. So
you got one guy coming or what?
No, we had two. They said it's the in the African American community. It's a known thing. So I'm in with that crew now. They said
2 out of 167. There you go.
I'm in with that crew.
They said some people say you can come to my barbecue any day.
Yeah, tartar. Yep, that's what it is.
All right, boys. I think that's it. We got the rapid fire food takes. We'll keep them coming. We always get through the content first, so nobody gets mad. We make sure it's all through. But I think people love the food takes, and we're going to keep them rolling. It's a lot of fun, and each time they seem to come up with one. That's why I cut you off. I love the black licorice one was the best one.
Yeah, I want you to find red vines, man. That's the one thing that I need you to do. Get some red vines. Yeah, I'm sure you can get them
to me. They're not going to be in Canada. You got to get.
I guarantee they have them on Amazon. If not, then I send you. I send you packages from time to time. I will put some red vines.
They have it on Amazon. I looked. They do.
Yeah. I'm telling you guys, just get some. You'll have it tomorrow or the next day. I'm telling you, it's a game changer in the licorice side of things.
Yeah, that's why, right? It makes sense now. Why
exactly.
the smash burgers are delicious, but just noting that it does make sense. The one thing you sent me, speaking of sending me stuff that is incredible, and we don't got them up here, Dots pretzels.
Oh, so good. You don't have, those are so good.
These are like bad for your health. Like they're so put the bag way over there. I ate 40% of the bag, then I ate 80%. I'm like, I didn't eat them all though. But you ate so much of them that you're like, I'm an idiot. That was bad. They're so good though.
See, I'm getting respect. They're putting respect on my name now. I'm going by.
That's the last thing of respect. You're getting compared to that bum. That is not
Mike Petta. There we go.
And I hate it because it'll haunt Tambo forever. The 1 week he does anything, but no, that is not.
By the way, boys, King of the Desert this week. So I'm trying to get down to see title in Zona. So I got to get through round one.
Starts this week.
It starts this week for both NFL and golf, but the NFL one is golf's in play already, but golf, and so everyone's sweating the cut line for that. Someone send me the link in the Discord. Maybe Kenny will have it, but I want to follow that. But for football, they're doing it on the 3-gamer. They're sticking to Sundays, and it goes tomorrow. If you get through, it's 150. If you get to the top 50, it's next Sunday. You play the divisional round, and then if you get through that to the top 20 this year, last year it was only 15. But you get through to the top 20, you go to the Waste Management Phoenix Open, which is like the worst part of it. Even though I love Arizona, I almost don't want to attend that for like the 6th time. I've been to it enough. It was a disaster last year. I just want to hang out with people. So I'll go and I'll hang out with Title and everybody else and all the good people down there. But hopefully I can get through so that I can make that a real thing. But we'll see. All right. We're going to do it. Let's get it done. If you guys want to get in, we didn't even talk about any marketing on the show, but there is certainly the appetizer that we brought out last time. I'm making sure you get in and join SHIPIT Nation now. It's definitely the time to join. If you're getting into the golf streets, you can get in and get $100 off, get all access all the way through. If you don't want this, it's actually a ton of different things you can do. If you just go over and look and go to Join the Nation, the all access on the front page, I'll go back first. Sorry. This deal, $85 is a steal. You're locking in. It's all access, including Shiptimizer for everything. And that's just the deal instead of $99. That's 100% the way I would recommend to go. But for NFL, you can just do even the monthly right now and just lock in the rest of the month, and you'll get right through Super Bowl because we just crossed 1 day. So these packages will be changing back to annual for people that want to wrap the entire season through till next year and get a deal. But just to note, the monthly deal is the way to go for NFL only if you're looking at it now. Anything else, Hoop, you want to add to this stuff? I know we didn't talk about it a ton throughout the show.
Yeah, big weekend. We got the big 2-game slate on Saturday. We have the MMA slate, and then the slate on Sunday, and then the Monday showdown slate. It's going to be a fun 3 days, and everyone out there, good luck. Let's start strong and go all the way through this weekend and have a big weekend.
Yeah, should be a good one. Excited for it. For Hoop, for Title, and for myself, ToeTagginTambo, let's ship it.